Coming up, a Sad Styles production. Get into it.
And welcome to the Retrograde,
the podcast where we wait. Why are we doing?
Oh, you didn't notice?
Yeah. Why did we switch?
Did I just steal your intro right from under your nose?
Oh yeah, you did. You stole it. Why did you steal that?
Well, because I'm being sneaky. I'm being sly, like the protagonist of 2002's Sucker Punch production on the PlayStation 2, Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus. This week on the Retrograde podcast.
Welcome to the Retrograde
podcast, where we remind you what you used to love and whether or not you still should.
My name's Andrew Baskman. With me, as always, is the bad boy of podcasting, Mr. Bebop himself.
Mikey Aaron, worth a lot less when you sell your items through a fence.
Oh, yes.
Because this week, we are focusing on the fucking dirty thief.
Wow.
Sly Cooper.
Starting off hot.
Listen, have you ever had anything stolen from you? Apart from the limelight when you're on this podcast with me?
Yes, or a few hearts. You know what? I don't know if anyone's ever stolen anything from me. I'm sure they have.
I'm sure someone has.
Maybe I'm just very bad at keeping inventory of my life.
That could
and
be
I'm
it.
just unaware of, like, where'd my watch go? I don't know.
That means you're a very good target for a thief.
Absolutely. You know what? Every time I always see those videos of like a magician going like, "And do you want your watch back?" And somebody's like, "What?" Baffled. I even watch that video and go like, "You stupid idiot! How do you not know you have your watch on?"
100%.
But yet I would be the person going like, "I didn't even have a watch."
It's funny. Like I'm going to be going on vacation a week away from recording this, and I'm going to a place where they say pickpockets run rampant. So very fitting that we're doing this week's game, Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus.
Are you doing this as a preparation, like as a training course?
I got to get myself used to. I got to get inside the mind of the thief, the raccoon thief. Yes. Otherwise, how am I supposed to defend myself?
I do like you walking around going like, "I think we're safe. I see no raccoons."
That's
just little children.
They don't want you to see that.
Just little children. They keep giving me hugs, which is wonderful.
Just little.
That's how they do it. They take your wallet and you're gone. You're like, "That was very nice." Oh my God, my wallet.
They keep resting their hands in my pockets.
Yes.
Little children with bandit masks and long furry tails.
Are your little hands tired? Rest them in my pockets. What do you mean I'm arrested? For what? Oh, right. Oh, my.
No, there's no holes in my pockets anymore. No, they keep saying they're like, keep your belongings on you. Maybe wear like a money belt or whatever the fuck those things are. And in my, like this dumb North American person just sitting here like, let them try to steal my life.
I will slug a child.
Even though pickpockets probably have knives.
Yes, they've lived life on the street. They've lived a much harder life than you. And even at 8, I think I would not. Didn't we have this argument a while back of like how many children you could fight?
We've had several arguments along this line. We had one which was how many 4-year-olds would it take before they would take you down?
Before they overwhelm you.
That would need to be like World War Z shit. Them like climbing over a wall to get at you. But the other one was, what is the oldest
that's what
a person could be before it, like a master in mixed martial arts, before you couldn't, or sorry, the youngest they could be that you could beat them up. So would you be able to beat up a master of martial arts at 11 years old, or would they have to be 9? I think 11 I could.
I know, you had a much higher number than mine.
Yeah.
I think a street tough at 8. They would do things I would. They like immediately take a chunk out of me with their teeth, and I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Listen, they've done a lot, but have they ever had to clean out the pool skimmer on a hot summer day? I mean, that's pretty... Once... There was a mouse in there.
Oh, man.
You know what I had to do? Call the pool guy.
Yes. Get that mouse.
Get that fucking mouse out of there.
It's right there. It's right there. You're like 2 feet away. Get it.
Well, if a raccoon is 2 feet away from you, you can expect that you're going to have a lot of shit stolen from you, especially if the raccoon is the protagonist of this week's game, Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus. Andrew, happy anniversary.
Oh, thank you. Wait, for what?
For the 20th anniversary of Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus. This game came out scant 20 years ago. You could just, scant is a good word because you can just throw it in wherever you want and no one's going to question it.
It's a great pause word because you can go like, and a scant 20 years ago. Like you take a nice break in there.
Well, by the way, do raccoons have pause?
Yeah, I think they do.
But they're like hands.
But they are like hands, which just makes them really creepy.
Really creepy.
So where we live in Toronto, we're overwhelmed by raccoons.
We are.
They are essentially our mascot and our biggest... That's like every time that people go like, Australia, like, oh, you get to see kangaroos all the time. They're like, I hate those fucking things.
100%.
And it's the same thing with raccoons here, where it's like, people are like, oh, they're adorable. Yeah, they're real bastards, though.
They're real bastards.
Oh, my God.
They're like Keebler elves. They just come out of the woodworks. They're in trees watching you, probably making cookies, too.
Yes, exactly. Don't eat those cookies.
Don't eat those cookies.
But yeah, they grab with their little dual hands because they've got like kind of almost
They
opposable
basically
thumbs.
have opposable thumbs.
It's insane.
Yeah. Okay. What is the youngest a raccoon could be before you knew you could kick the shit out of it? It'd have to be straight out of the womb. Those guys are little bastards.
Those fuckers like will come at you and hiss, and you're like, Jesus Christ, like because you do get close to me, and they're so like wobbly and fat, and and which means the city's feeding them pretty well.
Yes,
and they kind of work away from you, and you're like, look at this little tub. You're like, fuck off, and you get kind of close. They turn around with their teeth and go, and you're like, Jesus Christ.
If you've ever heard a raccoon fighting another raccoon,
oh yeah,
it is terrifying. And here's the funniest thing about raccoons is they're like legit real smart. Mm-hmm. They make me jealous sometimes. We as a city,
do you think a raccoon could kill a 9-year-old?
100%.
Yeah, 100%.
No. Well, because all it needs was one bite and then it's got rabies. So,
yes. Also, they could get a height advantage and drop from like they don't know where the 9-year-old is.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. They're
I
like
think it's an
little
average
ninjas.
brain thing. Like a 9-year-old and a raccoon, probably around
I
the
would
same.
almost put a raccoon higher than a 9-year-old because I don't think a 9-year-old could open one of the specialty trash bins that the city had to implement in order to make it so raccoons couldn't open it.
That's a real thing.
And then within a week, all the raccoons, it's like a fucking memo went out internally. They all figured it out.
We are at City Hall all having a meeting going like, new garbage bins. We're smarter than them.
Yes.
And they're having a meeting like in the underdwellings of like going like, new bins. We figured them out. Stupid humans.
So we did new bins and they figured those ones out as well. It's awful.
We're one step away from handguns for everyone to kill raccoons.
And then they're just going to have bulletproof armor. Like
little Kevlar vests for raccoons. Oh, that's adorable.
Well, listen, if you're new to this podcast, or even if you're a dumb previous listener who constantly seems to forget what the premise of this podcast is, typically, well, first of all, if you're new, thanks for listening.
Yeah, thank you. Not you. You're good.
Till
next week.
Yeah, till next week.
Then you're an idiot.
Typically, what we do on this podcast is we take a look back at the games that we used to play when we were kids. Usually, it's something we had an affinity towards one way or another. We rate and review the game out of 4 bits based on our memory of the game, a very subjective review. Then we actually play the game. Then we come back and rate and review the game out of 4 bits once again of how the game holds up in the modern day against like some modern games. Those two combined scores of 4 for the retro score, 4 for the current score for each of us. That's the overall retrograde.
Yeah.
That's the fucking premise of this podcast.
Yeah, that's like in the movie when they say the title of the movie in it. You're like,
it's the best.
Yeah.
It's the best. Andrew, it's about time for you to the retrograde, a video game podcast. But before,
wait, we need to give a grade from the past? It's almost a retrograde. And you're like elbowing your friend in the theater. No, you said it. You said it. You said it.
They said it. We should if there's anyone out there with any video editing capabilities and you're watching over on YouTube, because hey, we are on YouTube as well.
We are.
Go check us out. Please edit the video and make it so that when Andrew says the retrograde there, it's like our image on screen at the Avengers
Endgame
on your left scene, the whole crowd going wild. Yeah,
I know.
Well, look, we'll put it aside, Sly Cooper, for a little. We will talk specifically about that game in just a little bit. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit of gaming nonsense because I've got games on the brains.
You've got games on the brain?
I've got games on the brains. One question I want to ask you, because a couple weeks ago we talked about the Last of Us remake.
Yes.
And now that the dust has settled a little bit on this, I know we're talking about a game that's now a few weeks old, and in
years.
It may as well be years. But in this cycle of news, that 3 weeks may as well be an eternity. But there was a lot of controversy when this game was first announced. Just the generic fact that another remake was being done, even though there was a remaster like 4 or 5 years ago. Did we need to put our effort into this? Have you seen more of the videos and heard more of the analysis on this game?
See, I have. I love Last of Us. It's one of my most favorite video game experiences. Which I think I need to like actually, label it that way instead of saying like one of my favorite video games of all time.
Yeah.
But it was so much fun to go through and so interesting and affecting and emotional to go through the story of Ellie and Joel. And I loved it. And you almost forget that it just lies dormant and you're like, okay,
Francis McDormand,
Francis McDormand, yeah, 100%. And I just, box it up and put it away. And I'm like, okay, that was a great emotion. Thank you.
Really, the setting of The Last of Us is kind of a nomad land, so.
Yeah, it really was.
Francis McDormand.
Yep. No, I got it. And you're amazed how far you'll go. It's a Fargo joke. Ooh, wow. So
you go so far that you reach the 3 billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri?
Macbeth.
Man, if we keep making jokes, I was going to say, if we keep making jokes like this, we'll be almost famous.
Oh, fuck. I forgot about that. That's really good. I love Almost Famous. Is it you kind of put it away and with good reason. You don't want to be sitting there every day like, Last of Us 1.
Yes.
But I saw, and so I said the same thing. When we talked about it a couple weeks ago, I was kind of like, Do we need this? I don't know. I've already played 2. 2's fantastic as well.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then I saw somebody, actually I saw Matt Apodaca, who's a host of another video game podcast called Get Played, posted, If You Know, You Know. And it's Joel at the end of the hospital hallway.
Oh,
and he's staring at the door.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and it just had like this tingle inside my stomach. And I'm like, oh, fuck, do I need to play this game? Because if you know what happens in that scene, and it's very traumatic. And I think it really affects the rest of the video game and that experience entirely. And I'm like, should I go back and play this game?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So this brings up 2 questions that I want to ask you.
Please.
One, that moment in gaming is one of the most iconic moments. That if you know, Joel in the hospital room.
Yep.
And you know what? Quick aside, just a quick answer, because I don't want you to talk anymore. The way that they sort of retrofit the act that he performs in that hospital,
right,
recontextualizes it in The Last of Us Part 2.
Yes.
Did you like that or dislike that?
I like it.
I do too.
Yes.
Totally fine. I know it has some issues in terms of like the character model not being quite the same and all that, but I like that it added some stakes to The Last of Us 2 to directly tie it to the actions of The Last of Us 1.
I agree, because without Ellie being the connector between the 2 games,
right,
I think you do need some references, and I think especially the way they I'm not gonna spoil anything. The way they frame the story in number 2, you do need those callbacks to number 1 to really intertwine the stories, which is the point.
Especially The Last of Us 2, the prime directive of that game essentially being revenge is an endless cycle, that kind of thing.
Yes.
And that's why Abby is seeking Joel and Ellie in the beginning of The Last of Us 2. Okay, so the question I wanted to get to was those iconic moments in games are sort of, I don't want to say few and far between, but by the nature of us only remembering the most iconic ones, there are fewer of them than games that we've played. Are there any moments that stand out to you in gaming history? I know one that you're going to say right off the bat
100%.
probably is going to be, I'm going to
take a guess.
BioShock?
Well, which scene?
It would be the Would You Kindly scene?
Yes, I was going to say Across the Glass from Andrew Ryan.
Yes. Yeah.
So if you had to take, I like this idea. If you had to take one frame from a game and put it on a wall.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And that to you is like just a touch point for emotions or memories or whatever it is, and go, oh my God. I think seeing your own kind of shadowed reflection against Andrew Ryan as he died, whatever, the putter and stuff like that.
Yep.
I think that would be the frame for BioShock. BioShock was just also changed what I thought video games could be.
100%.
It went like, they don't have to be just like beat 'em ups and smash 'ems and stuff like that. It makes you like think and feel, and like, I thought that was crazy.
Man, speaking of BioShock, and we have to do a full fucking month on that game or that franchise at some point, because I love it so much. And the more I think about it, the more amazed I am at some of the things that they did. Like, you talk about being on the other side of the glass from Andrew Ryan, but how good is BioShock? And I know they weren't the first game to do this. System Shock did some of this. Half-Life did some of this. It had been done before in gaming, but those scenes where all of the action is happening on the map or in your field of vision beyond what you can interact with. The Big Daddy killing the Splicer the first time you see the Big Daddy and just being like, shit, the Splicer in the bathysphere who's trying to get in, and you're like, I hope this thing holds. The
Splicer with the baby and it's in shadow and you can hear them. And then you realize that it's a gun.
100%.
Oh my God.
But that is a narrative element, great. But I'm talking about more the moments that are specifically like something's happening and there's a window or a wall that's preventing me from interacting with them. And I fucking hope that window holds up. It just gives you such a helpless feeling, even though you should be feeling safe. You're like, I know at one point you're going to fuck with me, and that window's going to come down and they're all going to come in here. Yeah.
No. I think that's, it really just tested what you like. I really hate fourth wall meta breaking, where it looks to you and goes like, oh, video games are crazy. Like,
if meta breaks.
Oh my God.
And it looks like he might, because he's practicing MMA now. So Zuckerberg may have a limb or two break.
Saw that. I'm human. You're like, okay. Nice try. The computer's getting smart. But I hate those ones, and I love the ones that test what the boundaries of this genre is, or this medium is. Yeah. And that's the meta and fourth wall breaking that I really appreciate.
Sure.
Going like, it's not like looking to you and going like, well, video games are nuts. It's more about what is a video game, and like, why does it always have to be like this?
We'll talk about, because this is something that with Sly Cooper specifically, before we get into the meat and potatoes of the game.
Delicious. So is this the vegetables?
It's delicious. We're playing Cooking Mama today, actually. Yeah. We always talk about how the way a lot of people get around the weirdness of gaming nowadays in video games is having a character that's like, I guess I can fly now.
Yeah.
Here I am.
Yeah.
What was the game? Is it Forlorn or something along those lines?
Jeez.
It's the game where at E3 when they showed it off, it was literally like, fuck, I guess I can shoot things out of my hands now.
Yeah, he says that out loud.
Yes,
which is like
she does.
Fuck,
I can't remember. And that game released a trailer recently.
Yeah,
and it was even worse than you'd expect. It's it's like, so let me get this straight. That's how it starts.
Yeah,
I'm in this weird land that I don't remember getting to. I can shoot fire out of my hands in this. Okay. I'm officially creeped out. Like,
I know.
It's so dumb.
And I wonder, like, I know Deadpool's very popular, and I know the Sonic movies did really well, but I ever really, like, I don't know, like, my back goes up every time someone goes, like, so you're probably wondering how I got here.
Yes.
Don't do that.
100%.
Don't do that. And so I wonder, actually, now that Deadpool 3 is kind of coming out, like, it's been announced, I think it's going to be announced, is like, I wonder how our temperature for that is compared to when the first one came out, which is probably almost 10 years ago, about like, everyone's like, hey, it's pretty cool and new. And now this has been like beaten like, a dead horse. Oh, no.
Ride like the wind, bullseye.
You're a good podcast.
Well, fuck it. You can be upset. I'm happy. I always love a good horse drop, horse cast drop.
But now that it's been done so many times, is it still going to be refreshing or is it going to be like, yuck, don't do that?
I think I'm already on the yuck side of things.
Yeah.
And I think most people are now. I'm sorry. I looked up the game. I couldn't find it. Okay. I know I had notes on it, but we'll if I can remember it, I'll tweet it out. Or
and if we
like
can't, you tell us.
You tell us. Yeah, I'm sure people will know. It was big in the media a few weeks back, actually like a month back, based on how bad the trailer was. Mm-hmm. But the reason I bring it up is that's how a lot of games nowadays are separating themselves out from the weirdness of video games. Sly Cooper. It's like so blatantly not that. It's so blatantly like it literally when the you have a little turtle buddy. His name is Bentley. He's kind of like your trainer in this game.
Yeah.
And when you do Sly Cooper, when he's able to do like a context sensitive sneak thing, like go along a ledge or something, there's like a blue sparkly trail and you go up there and you press circle. And the first time this happens, Bentley says to you, he's like, oh, I know what that is. I've done research on this. Apparently, master thieves can see this, can do very special things that manifest themselves as a blue thing. So just walk up to them and hold the circle button and shift along the ledge. And it's like, okay, so there's no punches pulled. They just didn't know how to do a proper tutorial.
Yeah.
I think there's a middle ground of like, give me a prompt or something like that, but don't flat out tell me to press circle. Don't have a character in the narrative tell me to press 100%. Circle. And don't have a character say, I can't believe I can sneak along this ledge.
Yeah.
Like
wow. What's with the sparkles?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Just let's ignore that bit and just kind of focus on the fact that there's a bit of gaminess in everything.
Totally. Like, I'm almost done Ghost of Tsushima, but
hey, another Sucker Punch game.
Hey,
yeah,
there we go.
Okay,
there you go. When they organically, we've always talked about this, but when you are lost and you need to find out which direction you're going, the wind blows you towards that way.
Fantastic.
Is one of the nicest organic things that keeps you inside the video game because it's totally within the story that there's a certain amount of spirituality that you believe that the world is helping you get revenge and all this kind of stuff. So that is just one of the coolest touches instead of like a GTA style yellow
mini map and
yellow arrow that's going out or something like that. It's so cool.
It's great. I love things like that. There are ways to find that sort of immersion. And look, if From Software has proven anything, it's that gamers are much more capable of figuring out our situation, our spatial awareness than we realize. Like the map sucks in Elden Ring by design. There are very few markers in the map to let you know where to go, and people intuit it. It make a good enough quality game with some rationale behind why things end up where they are, and we'll figure it out.
Oh yeah.
We don't always need to have don't get me wrong. In a game like Ghost of Tsushima, I love that effect of the wind blowing and just saying, generally speaking, this is where you want to head now. But I wonder if you even needed something like that in it. I'm happy it's there, but I think as we get better at game creation and the psychology of game developers understanding the psychology of gamers, I think that we'll be better at having games designed that are just more intuitive towards where we're supposed to be going. And Stray was kind of like that, which we did a couple weeks ago. I found that pretty good.
That's a good point, actually. But it's so funny because, the basis of this podcast, we go back and play old games.
Right.
And it's just so funny how much more difficult old games were. But I don't mean that as a fault. And it also is difficult because they're just not holding your hands. Right. I just can't believe how hand-holdy modern games are. I understand that it makes it appeal to a wider general population. I get that, and they're trying to sell games, and that's totally fine. But man, modern games are much more hand-holdy than anything that's come before it.
Yeah, some of them are.
Like it really is. I say generally though.
Generally I think you're right. I think because generally our impression of games are AAA titles because that's what takes up the most air in the room. And I think that if you're making a AAA title, kind of like when we're doing this podcast, we have to take into account the fact that every week there are new listeners. And as weird as fuck as we are, like we just did a fucking Horsecast drop, we do need to take into account that there has to be a level of openness to welcome these new experiences without immediately shunning them. Yeah. So a AAA title, there's too much money behind them. They have to be a bit hand-holdy because if that's someone's first game experience or first open world experience, you want to hook them for life and you want to give them the training. There are better ways to do it, like skip the training or whatever. Maybe that's an option. I don't know.
You were just saying the Horsecast thing. I'm like, don't worry, it'll make more sense. And then I was like, no, it won't actually. It never will make sense.
You have to go back to our Destroy All Humans episode from fucking who knows. I think that was sub 100 or something like that.
Oh, Jesus.
That was a long time ago, but that was when the horse thing first started to become an issue. When it first started to haunt our podcast.
Honestly, it feels like horses haunt our podcast.
It really does. Yeah, it really does. Well, I know that the Horse Eggs crew definitely haunts our podcast. That's over on our social media.
They're always present.
One more question before we move off of the Last of Us thing, and then we'll get into Sly Cooper.
I'm here.
The focus of this week is we've talked about these remakes and remasters. We've had a lot, Demon Souls being one of my favorite ones recently. Right. What is one game in your history that you would love to see a remake or a remaster of?
Oh, that's interesting. A remake.
This could be as simple as tightening the controls of a game you already like, or it can be almost this like bigger reimagining of the game, like something along the lines of Resident Evil 2.
Right.
2.
It's so funny because we've talked about this as well in the past. Is like you don't always want this,
yes,
because you think you do, and then you get it, and you're like, oh. And like I will say this, the answer to this question up until 18 months ago would have been Tony Hawk.
Yes,
and because it's just like, and you know what, it's nearly perfect. Sure. I have no problem with that. The remake came out, and you're like, oh yeah. What a great game.
100%.
It's so much nicer. And then you get modern graphics and, a few new skaters and stuff like that. And that's really cool. And obviously like BioShock, but they've done some versions of remasters. There has been some, there was one about a couple years ago that was a bigger upgrade. And you're like, yeah, that's really good. I think the biggest ones that you need to answer for are the ones that are so reliant on controls and graphics being the key element to the game.
Yeah.
If it's a story-based game, and that's why I was always curious about Last of Us too, is going like, well, how much more of an improvement can it be when the game really relies on the story?
Yes.
You're not changing the story.
Right.
And I would say the same thing for BioShock as well.
Sure.
It's like, those are story-based games. So they're like, yeah, we tighten the controls a little bit. It's like, okay.
Well, but
I guess.
See, BioShock is one that I could absolutely see.
Oh, yeah.
Tighten the controls, maybe just make it a little bit more, but not yet. I'm like, give it 5 more years or something like that, and then let's get it.
I wonder if something more, open platform stuff, like, what if Mario 64 came up with a perfectly like modern graphical display? Would that be worse?
I feel like the more we remake and revisit Mario 64 on modern consoles, the more we realize that it was perfect for the N64. That level of pixelization, that level of floatiness to the controls, a little bit of still learning out how to do 3D worked better on the N64 exactly as it was. That's one that I'm like, it came back to the Nintendo Switch Online, and people were playing Mario 64 in the modern on a modern console, and they're like, yeah, I don't know about this. Like it was like, oh, maybe don't go back to it. That kind of worked as it was. There's a game that I talk about a lot, Freedom Fighters, and I know we're never going to get a remaster of it because it just wasn't big enough, but I would love to spend some more time with that. I also think, and I know we kind of got this already, but like, give me a GoldenEye 64 or a Perfect Dark with updated controls.
But is that my fear too? That like it becomes modern, it looks modern, it looks like a game that came out yesterday, and you're like, this game's very simple or it's small.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like because I still want to go to the complex. Don't give me like Complex Plus.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I think we would our memory of GoldenEye is different than what it actually feels like because it felt huge and new and big to us, and now it would be the exact opposite. But what I would love to see, there is a company making, I think it's like Agent 64 or something.
Yeah.
Is like a remake of not a remake, it's a reimagining of that era of first-person shooter with modern controls and graphics that pay homage to the pixelization and the weird face mapping of the GoldenEye era. That I really like because now you're not associating it with a specific level or a specific memory. It's doing what you want a remake to do. Give me the feeling I thought I had when I was playing it as a kid.
Yeah.
Because if you go play that exact game, your memory of it, like it's like connect the dots. Like we've reimagined what it actually felt like because we were kids and our dopamine centers hadn't been ravaged by social media.
Just strip mined.
Just strip mined, exactly. And the controls we were doing a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of the actions between the translation of the controls and the actions on screen. So give me what I think I thought that game was actually playing like. Don't actually make me play the real game.
Yeah, because where my mind went to originally too was like, oh, you know what? I'd love to do like a Red Alert Command & Conquer or an Age of Empires. And then I was like, oh, they put out an Age of Empires like a year and a half ago. And you just realize this is like what we're saying. Like you don't always want to get what this is one of our favorite guys on the podcast, Robert Frost. You can't go home again because, and it's not that you can't go home again. You can always go home, but the home that you left has changed.
Yes.
And so it's the same thing. It's like, I want these things, but I've changed. And so now when I get it again, I'm like, they're like, it's exactly the same. I'm like, I'm sure it is. I just don't enjoy it the same way anymore.
It's funny. People always make fun of me for not wanting to replay games or rewatch movies or reread
the rewatch
books.
movies thing is really always a thing that I know.
A lot of people rewatch movies, and there are a few that I rewatch. I love rewatching Scott Pilgrim. I love rewatching Drive, Inside Llewyn Davis. Those are basically the only 3 movies that I watch more than once, except for Elf, because my mom makes me watch it every Christmas.
It's a lot in common between those 4 movies. Obviously, you understand Mikey's psyche when you go.
Mikey's psyche.
Mikey's psyche. It's a new corner here. When you're like Drive and Scott Pilgrim. You're like, oh, I get it. Yeah, 100%.
I like the idea that it's like, welcome to Mikey's Psyche. It's a new segment on this podcast. Let's go join Mikey over in his psyche. And it's just the sound effects are like,
just screaming, bats come out, somebody sobbing in the background. Like, I think we're going to close this box and put it back up there with Last of Us.
But that's one of the reasons why I don't want to replay games. I don't want to rewatch movies or reread books. It's like, if something worked for me, I always feel like there's a reason why it worked when it worked.
Yeah.
And I don't need to open that box and find any issues with it. Like Avatar is the perfect example for me. I walked out of that theater. I fucking loved it.
Oh yeah.
I had a blast.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, the story's just Pocahontas and it's really not respectful towards Indigenous people. And the technology isn't that great and this and that. And I'm like, okay, valid. But I love, why would I want to rewatch it and give myself a worse time? In my mind, it exists. It's pristine. I don't want to open that box and realize that it's not good anymore.
I do like
Speaking
the Friends
of Pandora's box.
Yeah, hey, Pandora. I love the people around you not understanding when you scream, my box is closed, my box is closed. And they're like, we're just trying to talk about the movie. And you're like, my box is closed.
Well, even in a hermetically sealed box, I know someone who could get into it, even with a lock on it. And that is the protagonist of this week's game. It's Sly Cooper.
And his little creepy hands. That is the sequel. Sly Cooper, and his little creepy hands.
Can we go through some of the names of the Sly Cooper games?
I would love that, Mikey.
This is a franchise similar, I think, to Oddworld, where it's like we did that last week. It's kind of like, what happened to Sly Cooper? What happened? It was a big game, and we'll get into some of the actual concrete. My theory on why Sly Cooper is no longer around.
Okay,
it's because he got killed.
Oh my God!
Yeah, if you look at Sly Cooper on the cover of Abbey Road, he's not wearing shoes, and I think that means that he is killed.
Or it's like an Avril Lavigne, Andrew WK, where they replaced.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe he was. It'd be pretty Sly.
There was like 7 lassies, so like it wouldn't shock me if.
And he's wearing a mask.
Yeah, he's in a dangerous field of work. You know what I mean?
Like, he absolutely is. Yeah. He was stolen. He was kidnapped.
Yeah.
If you kidnap someone, do you steal them?
That's interesting. Yes, I think you do.
Okay.
But you know what? Steal is from like some level of possession. So like, does that person belong to somebody else?
Well, now they do, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they belong to me.
And until they admit it, they're not leaving my basement. So here are the names of the games. Okay, so Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus. That's the first one.
Very good.
Sly 2, Band of Thieves. Sly 3, Honor Among Thieves. Sly Cooper, Thieves in Time. Sly, To Hell and Back. Sly Cooper, One Small Step for Raccoons. Sly Cooper, Gravity's Edge, Sly in Space, The Theft of the Space Diamonds.
What is going on? Most of those aren't even puns. Like most of those don't make any sense.
Most of them aren't real. But I bet you couldn't figure out.
When did it stop? When did it stop being real? Okay, the space ones.
You tell me. I'm going to read them again.
Okay,
you
read
tell
them
me
again.
which one is real and which ones aren't.
Can you just help me with that? Is there a point where they stop being fake, or is it fake,
Yes.
real, fake, real?
No,
okay.
it's they're real up until a point.
Okay.
Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus.
I know that because we're playing it today. So that's real.
Are we?
Wouldn't that be great if it was like, that's fake? I'm like, what? What are we doing today?
Everything is fake. All of a sudden, I'm like, open your eyes.
The rapper too. Okay.
Sly 2, Band of Thieves.
Okay, I'm gonna go with yes because something about like his like mask and like bands and like
Nice.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well done. Okay. Sly 3, Honor Among Thieves.
Okay. So this is where it starts getting a little squirrely to me.
Squirrely.
Oh no!
Come on, Andrew.
Raccoony. Is that okay? Thieves. Same word as number 2, so that's good.
Yeah.
Thieves seems to be going a reoccurring trend in here.
Yes.
Honor among thieves is an expression.
Uh-huh.
So yes, let's say it's real.
Okay. Sly to Hell and Back.
This was where I think it's fake.
Sorry, I missed one. Sly Cooper, Thieves in Time.
Thieves is back.
Thieves is back.
So so this is a time traveling one. So they're really out of ideas at this point. I'm gonna say this is real.
It is real.
Okay. To Hell and Back?
To Hell and Back.
Fake. I don't think Sly Cooper, this cartoon who has honor among thieves, is like, you know who I'm going to steal from next? Satan.
But here's the thing: when you're playing with time now, Thieves in Time, I'm like, of course. Now what? You go to hell. You go to space.
I guess the end of the time traveling one is Sly Cooper looking up and going like, next, what are you going to do next? The turtle looks at him. Bentley, the turtle, looks at him and goes, what are you going to do next? He goes, I'm going to punch God in the face. And you're like, whoa, what the fuck is Sly Cooper's problem now?
What if I put Sly Cooper, One Small Step for Thieves?
Okay, what was that?
Because that's when they go to space.
It's Bentley now terrified of what the monster Sly is being created as, and he goes, now that you punch God, what are you going to do? And he goes, I'm going to punch Neil Armstrong in the face. So like, what? Gandhi, watch your back.
I'll show him who's got the strongest arm. Yeah, so obviously only up to Thieves in Time.
Thieves in Time.
Then we had, I think, some remakes at one point, but essentially stopped. 2013 was Thieves in Time, and that wasn't even Sucker Punch. That was a different company altogether, a different developer altogether. So Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus came out September 23rd, 2002. That's 20 years ago. We're celebrating the 20-year anniversary of this PlayStation 2 game developed by Sucker Punch and published by Sony. In Europe, it's known as Sly Raccoon. And I wonder if that's because in Europe they're less familiar with what raccoons are, so they need to...
Maybe.
I don't know, are there
true?
fewer raccoons in Europe than there are in North America? Maybe.
What the hell are you looking at me for? I don't know.
Well, you know
what am I, Steve Irwin? She's like, fuck off.
Well, you do have a stingray hanging from your chest.
I do. He's my friend. If you're in Europe, tell us. Do you have raccoons?
Do you?
Are they a problem? If you don't, and they're not a problem, what is your current problem? What is the animal getting into your trash?
Let's leave it to animals only.
I
don't need to know. Actually, we are going to get into a listener problem because we had a question submitted to us. We had a few questions submitted to us, and we're going to be drawing from that list. That's going to come after the gameplay segment where we're going to answer a listener question regarding some pretty interesting life advice that they're asking for.
Yes,
I couldn't wait to get into this one.
Yeah. Please tell us what animal. Don't say the poor or something like that. Like, I will not.
My wife.
Yeah. Ooh, good advice question.
Actually, yeah. So Sucker Punch, I want to talk about them for a little bit. They made Sly Cooper. They made the Infamous franchise, and most recently Ghost of Tsushima. Yeah. Founded in 1997 by Brian Fleming and a bunch of other people who I didn't want to name.
Sure.
An interesting thing about them, when they first set out to make games as a company, they saw Oddworld, and they explicitly mentioned Oddworld, last week's game, and they basically said, we're not good enough to do this yet. Let's start with like a puzzle game, figure our shit out, and then we'll come back with something a little bit more elaborate. So, and you know what? Good on him. Oddworld was a great fucking game.
That was a cool game, man.
And it looked great, but there is a similar cinematic element. Granted, it's in 2002, a little bit later than Oddworld, which I believe was 1997. But they eventually got their feet under them, their little raccoon feet. The story of this game, Sly and his gang, that's Bentley the Turtle and Murray the Hippo. You're kind of a gang. You're tasked with recovering a book that was stolen from Sly's family called the Thievius Raccoonus. And it's essentially a book that outlines how to be a great thief.
Okay.
Now, here's an interesting thing about Sly Cooper in the lore of Sly and who he is. You're not a bad guy.
Oh.
You only steal from thieves. And I can't imagine how that would be wrong at all and perpetuate a cycle of revenge, much like that in The Last of Us Part 2. Like, this whole idea of, like, we don't steal from the good guys. It's like, you still fucking steal. The act itself is not a good thing.
Yeah, you become a thief by stealing by thieves. Then is somebody going to turn around and be like, these guys suck, I'm going to steal from these thieves? And you're like, I'm a good guy.
I'm a good guy.
No,
I
you're
only
a
steal
thief.
from thieves.
I know what we're saying.
But
Robin Hood is a real snake eats its tail situation.
Robin Hood?
Yeah, if you just think about it too much, you're like, wait a second. Because this is essentially the same thing.
Is Robin Hood almost like maybe the sheriff of Nottingham would be like the person maintaining the egg timer, where it's like Robin Hood steals so much from the rich that the poor become the rich. You flip the egg timer, steal from the poor, who are now the rich.
Back,
and you give that back to the rich.
Which I think works because also, we're talking about a raccoon today. Famously, Robin Hood's a fox.
Yes.
And the Sheriff of Nottingham's a lion.
Yes.
I don't know how that figured out, but so like that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Maybe it's more like this marsupial problem where they seem to all be thieves.
Maybe they
I
are,
also
though.
used marsupial incorrectly. I just now realize.
What is it? What is it? A rodent? What is a?
I don't know.
I thought it would have been a.
Is it a marsupial? But a fox
Possibly.
is not a marsupial then.
What is it?
Oh my God. Mikey, I've entered us.
canine?
I've entered us down to a road. I danger where we are going to go from here.
Don't call it a rabbit hole, because that's a whole other animal.
That's a different animal. Is that a marsupial? What's a marsupial? Get back to us real quick.
Hey, do you think there's ever a movie that was made by rich people? I mean, all movies are made by rich people, essentially. But do you think there was a movie made by rich people that just completely missed the point of Robin Hood, and they call it Robin Hood, and it's where the rich steal from the hood?
Oh my God.
It'd be a terrible movie.
Yeah, unless it was like a 70s blaxploitation film, and then you're like, oh, this is pretty cool.
Yeah,
It's pretty cool. Really on the nose.
Yeah,
I like
you
it.
love blaxploitation.
There is some really great movies from back then.
That is actually true. There are.
It's a cool genre.
So man, do I want to get into this? I woke up once.
Oh boy. Here we go.
I have very weird sleeps. I have very weird dreams. I once awoke from a nightmare screaming, "That's blaxploitation." What? To contextualize. What? Why? Because I was on set of a movie. I was in my dream.
In his dream.
In my dream. And I realized that the movie was a blaxploitation film in all the worst ways possible. And no one seemed to realize it. And I was getting frustrated arguing with everyone on set. So when I woke up, I was like, I don't want to be a part of this. That's blaxploitation. And I sat up in bed.
Yeah.
And I was sweating. And I yelled it in my bedroom to nobody.
That's great. White guilt has worked its way right
It's
into your
worked its
nightmares.
way right into my
That's
nightmares.
good for you.
Yeah.
That probably means good things. You know that expression is not always a negative, right?
Is it not?
No.
I always thought it would be.
No, that's not always.
Are you
But
sure?
yeah, that one I'm more confident about than marsupial.
And marsupial. Okay,
Yes.
I'll take your word for it. And look, if Andrew's wrong, he said it, not me.
Yeah, I guess so.
So you're tasked with stealing back the Thievius Raccoonus. You got to take it back from the Fiendish Five, who were behind the theft of the Thievius Raccoonus from your family initially when your parents were killed.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so by the thieves, not by like a trash compactor or anything.
Right,
We're just in a trash bin.
A car, road, just crossing the road.
Do you know why they're called the Fiendish Five?
No, because there's 5 of them.
Nope, it's because they're headed by Five-ish Finkel.
Oh, really? Yeah, famous actor.
Famous actor,
wow.
Five-ish Finkel.
Five-ish Finkel.
So basically, the premise is, like I said, you got to steal from these thieves. Don't dig it too much into it, because then you'll just find out that you're essentially the Mike Ehrmantraut of this story. It's like you think you have honor, but at the end of the day, you're just stealing shit from everyone, just like everyone else
But
is.
that is what you're. Yes, that is the problem, though.
That is the problem.
Yeah. Okay.
You're
on the same page.
Mike Ehrmantraut is not a good guy.
No, even though he tried.
Even though he tried, but he likes to think he's different, but he's not. They're all the same.
They're all. Yeah.
Love that.
You wrestle in the mud. You get out dirty.
Cool, Andrew. The Fiendish Five, let's go over that. Sir Rally is a hoity-toity bullfrog. You got Mugshot, super strong bulldog.
Okay.
Bullfrog, bulldog. Bull I don't know anymore.
Marsupial.
Yes.
I don't know.
Canine. You have Ms. Ruby, who's a voodoo alligator. You have the Panda King. I don't know how to describe that.
Okay.
And then you have Clockwork, who is the final enemy in the Fiendish Five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes.
Oh, very good.
The gameplay.
When do I fight Five-ish Finkel?
You can't, because you would lose.
He's too smart.
He's too smart for everyone.
Yeah.
You got to go over to Boston. Got to go to Boston College, where he teaches. Wow, if anyone gets that. So the gameplay, keep in mind, this is the year 2002. This is the same year that Splinter Cell came out. This is a scant 4 years after Metal Gear Solid. Sneaking was big.
Okay.
So this was one of those games that was kind of trying to take advantage of the fact that stealth was capturing the hearts and minds and wallets of gamers all around us. Little things like dynamic music in this game. You get, they were saying that like it's a big thing where if you get discovered, then all of a sudden the music picks up and when you're back into stealth, the music goes down a bit. And I'm like, that was done 4 years ago in Metal Gear. Like that's dynamic music doesn't seem to have started with this. So it seems to be a weird selling point. But this also kind of feels like a weird in-between moment in gaming. I mentioned the tutorials being very like, hey, you're playing a video game right now. And it was a little bit stealthy, but it was also like context sensitive. Remember the era of like quick time events and like press circle to do something? It's not you're just pressing it to like press circle. Now you're shimming on the ledge. Press circle. Now you're hiding in a shadow. Like,
yeah.
Which is weird because now when you think about it, that's without an icon popping up on screen, that's like the Assassin's Creed formula.
Sure.
Or like this open world formula, like press circle to climb, to jump in, to this. It's all kind of, you hold a button down to make things look cool at the expense of being fun. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it seems like this is just a more rugged version of that. Yeah.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah. The development of this game, one thing I want to draw attention to is a lot of people remember this game. You remember images of this game?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like describe the look and feel of it if you can.
Okay, I remember exactly what Sly Cooper looks like. He's kind of blue and purple-ish.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got this dark color to him because it's not like a correct raccoon where he's like gray and black, right?
Right.
No.
And what about the graphic style?
It's slightly cartoony, right?
Right. So a lot of people would have attributed cell shading to this game, but
yes.
Brian Fleming said specifically he called it toon shading. And I didn't realize this until I read this and then looked back at screenshots of the game when I was doing my research. It isn't all cell shaded. The environments are more realistically 3D renders.
Yes.
But Sly Cooper and the characters are cell shaded. So it's kind of a mix of the two and it looks really, really neat actually. I kind of liked it. It gives it kind of that like Paper Mario sort of look where like there's, if Paper Mario had the background that's a bit more realistic and then just the characters kind of have that weird 2D almost element to it. It was neat. I love cell shading. I want more of it in my games.
Okay, there we go. Like he's making a demand. Everyone needs to listen.
I am making the demand. Now, I also want to demand what happened to Sly Cooper? Because
he went to space.
He went to space.
Then went to hell.
And he never came back.
Stole space diamonds.
According to my lore.
I loved it,
my
Mikey.
fanfic.
That was so
my
good.
fanfic. I'm gonna tell you the reception of this game, and then I'm gonna tell you the reception of its sequels, and we're gonna talk about why Sly Cooper is no longer in our lives.
Can I just say, whenever you tell me the reception of the game, I'm then technically sitting in the reception area, and you are the receptionist.
Or are you the receptionist because you are receiving?
That's a good point.
And am I your boss?
Wait, whoa. How
does
does this
that
work
mean,
out?
Hey, I just dropped a pen over there.
Oh, don't.
I'm allowed to. I'm your boss.
No, you're sexually harassing me.
I'm allowed to. I'm your boss. This is 2002.
I understand what you go through all the time, Elliot. Okay.
Elliot likes it.
No.
He tells me he does.
No. Okay, we'll
He
take this off
tells me he
air.
likes it.
He tells you
We've
he
got
likes.
an HR department. Take it up with them.
Who's the HR department?
Listen, I can't afford a brand new employee.
Oh, it's you, isn't it?
I have to, but it's an anonymous suggestion box.
There's 3 employees.
Right, and
Actually,
I'm
there's a
one.
few more employees, actually, now that I think of it. But still.
No, not anymore. They all quit.
Did they?
For reasons I don't know. All I know is that I remember someone complaining that they couldn't file anything in the suggestion box because it was stuffed too full.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't have the fucking key to that thing.
Oh.
I locked it up because I wanted it to be super secretive.
Right. So but you're effectively not listening to people. Why are you the head of HR? This seems like the wrong decision.
Well, listen, it's a lot harder to. I just need a bit more control over the circumstances.
No, I don't think that's true.
Why am I going to hire someone to police me? On purpose. That's insane, Andrew.
Mikey?
What?
It's man, your arguments sometimes when you do this are so good that I realize I'm like, oh, people actually get these arguments. And I'm like, oh boy,
I'm going to spend my company's money to tell me
after
I'm
me?
doing something wrong.
It's so evil. Oh.
You know what? If it's so evil, if you hate it so much, go start your own company.
Oh my God. It's too good. Elegant, right? Yeah, I know. It's a real monster.
Oh, I'm sorry for paying your salary.
Yeah, exactly.
The least you can do is pick up my fucking pen.
Yes, sir. Sobbing. Here is your pen.
Thank you very much.
No problem at all.
Hey, wipe those tears. You look better when you smile.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Okay. Reception of this game.
In
Can
the reception
we move
area.
on?
Yeah, I'm in the reception
You're
area.
convinced I'm a good boss now?
Yeah, everyone thinks you're a good boss.
So Sly Cooper, Thievius Raccoonus, Metacritic gave it an 86%.
Oh.
EGM gave it an 8.33. Game Informer
Informer
gave it a 9.25. GameSpot gave it a 7.8. IGN gave it an 8.5. XPlay gave it a 5 out of 5. That's how they used to say it. I loved XPlay. I had a dream with Morgan Webb in it last night, now that I think about it.
Sake.
And I woke up screaming, that's blaxploitation.
No one was more confused than Morgan Webb in your dream.
Playboy gave it an 85%. Could you imagine being and I say this as the host of a video game podcast, co-host of a video game podcast. Could you imagine being the fucking nerd who reviews video games over at Playboy?
What does that magazine look like at that point in the early 2000s where it's like, okay, I understand what this is. Oh, that's like Cooper too. And then before somebody gets at me on the internet, like, I understand, like, especially in the 60s, the Playboy was a really good magazine. They're like Hunter S. Thompson and like all these really great writers are writing in it.
Right.
And it is the joke where I read it for the articles is because it was mostly articles at that time. And then, a few naked women. And then I love the idea, like, early 2000s, like, we should bring that back.
You'd look good in that magazine.
Why is that now?
It's a compliment.
Oh, thank you.
Oh,
no, I see what you're doing now.
You honestly, if you just
Please
clean
stop
yourself up a little
sexualizing me.
bit.
Please stop sexualizing me. We're in a professional work.
Well, then how about you dress a little bit differently?
You get mad when I dress all. You described it as frumpy, which I thought was really insulting.
You got to find a happy medium.
No, I don't. Oh, to work here I do? Oh, boy. All right.
Have you seen the new dress code? Spaghetti straps only. Doesn't matter what part of the body.
If straps needed, spaghetti specific. Yes.
And they have to be made of real spaghetti. How many times do I need to tell you this?
Because I'm very insulting towards Italians. Yeah. So, like, I could imagine they tried to recreate it in the early 2000s.
Sure.
And then they're like, you know what kids love these days? Video games.
Yeah. Well, look, for all the kids who are stealing their dad's Playboy, now they get to read some Sly Cooper in there as well.
Exactly.
I love that idea of like I'm a journalist. Oh, I work for Playboy. Oh. Reviewing video games?
So many emotions. Their face gets all confused.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like a Picasso painting by the end.
It is. So with that said, the sequel comes out, Sly Cooper to Sly 2 Band of Thieves. That's an 82%, so a slight drop. But then Sly Cooper Band of Thieves is an 86%.
Okay.
That's number 2. Number 3, Honor Among Thieves is an 82%, so a little bit of a dip. And then it just kind of falls off the map. The next game doesn't come out till 2013, and that's a 75%. Granted, not developed by Sucker Punch.
I was going to say, yes.
So not expecting too much. But generally speaking, a pretty high success rate over the 3 or 4 years that these games came out. So what happened? My theory is Ratchet and Clank and Jak and Daxter happened.
Right.
This was a new resurgence of mascot gaming. Ratchet and Clank coming out in 2002, Jak and Daxter coming out in 2001, Sly Cooper coming out in 2002. I'm all for mascots and trying to make new mascots.
Absolutely.
But when there are 3 of them, all kind of like cutesy, rugged at the same time, vying for the same space, one of them won out, and that was Ratchet and Clank, and it's the only one that still exists. And I think Sucker Punch probably recognized this, and that's why they pivoted to the much more realistic open world superhero simulator in Infamous, which was a great game as well.
Yes, it was. And people really like that one. And it's quite a pivot from this.
A very big pivot.
But you're right. Like, that genre obviously is a dwindling one, the cutesy mascot one.
Sure.
Even though I actually love it. I think there's like
100%.
a great thing about the innocence and things like that.
Yeah.
But when you have 3 games popular in that space, there's only so much air, like you were saying earlier. So that does make a lot of sense.
I think that's essentially why we don't see much more of it. But, good on Sucker Punch for pivoting every 3 or 4 games. You don't often see this. Again, I'll go back to Michel Ancel, who was kind of pigeonholed doing Rayman games, did Beyond Good and Evil, which was fantastic. You look at Oddworld as well, and all the Oddworld games, and it was always kind of Abe's Odyssey. They pivot once, and it's for Stranger's Wrath, and it's a very different game, but then that just kind of like crushes their souls, and they get out of the industry. It's nice to see a company that's focusing on doing other things. And Insomniac as well, speaking of Ratchet and Clank, has done a military shooter. They've done Ratchet and Clank. They did Spider-Man. They did they're like Insomniac Mwah, primo.
Yeah.
Love
Oh
it.
no, absolutely. But that's true of any creator. They're like, that's great. Now make 10 more of those.
Yes,
You're like,
exactly.
Okay,
It's got to be miserable.
It's got to be the same genre, same everything. Like, man, it just burns yourself out.
100%.
I can only imagine how Dick Wolf is still alive. Like, you're like, I'd really like to do this about like, you're like a cop, and they're like, no. Okay, great. Fire department. He's like, no, stop. And he's like, lawyer. And he's like, fuck, stop. I want to do a really cool thing about baseball. No. Dick Wolf, get the fuck out of here.
Is it how a baseball player murdered another baseball player?
Is he secretly undercover?
Undercover, under the cover of darkness.
Oh,
He's
Sly Cooper.
Law seeker. Law seeker? Law seeker.
He's an insurance adjuster?
Yes. Yeah. At night. A vigilante insurance adjuster.
Whoa. Are we doing something here? Is this pretty good? Call Dick Wolf.
Superhero by day, insurance adjuster by night.
My real hero work is my insurance adjusting. I do it at night. This is just my day job.
They
He's
look at
pointing to a
Superman,
cape.
they're like, aren't you Clarence West?
Shh. Winks.
You helped me
flies.
adjust my claims just last week. Tell me, Andrew, your experience with the Sly Cooper franchise.
Right.
Do you have a lot of experience with it?
Not a ton, but I did play it enough to give it a ranking.
Sure, let's do it. So, well, tell us first about a bit of your experience,
Sure.
and then we'll get into the
I
explanation.
do remember liking it, even though I was in that weird age where, like, I think I was at the age where, like, oh, it's little cartoons from babies.
Yeah.
Even though, it's only the presentation style that is really like that. After that, it was a fun video game that didn't, you had to work out your brain a little bit to figure out some stuff. And I actually really remember liking the controls, which was kind of interesting at the time. But like, I liked the way it moved, and it was just a pleasing experience, kind of like we were talking about with mascot gaming in general.
Yeah,
you're supposed to kind of walk away going like, fun.
Sure.
Put it down and stuff like that. I didn't play any of the sequels, so maybe that does say something a little bit about it, but I remember enjoying my time with it.
Okay. Yeah, I was kind of similar. I was always aware of it. And I'll point to EGM's review of an 8.33. That was right around the threshold of a game that I would definitely or would not buy. Like that 8 to 8.5 range of EGM, I base a lot of my purchases on their reviews.
Mine was Playboy.
Was Playboy, yeah.
Yeah.
So that 85%, you're like, fucking absolutely.
My dad's like, you got to man up. He throws a Playboy at me. I skip to page 85 and I get right to the reviews. Smoked a whole pack. I'm like, shut up.
Daddy, can we buy the new Playboy magazine? That's my son.
Yeah, absolutely. Sly Cooper got an 8.5 in Playboy. He's like, oh my God.
I like the idea.
Tries not to run the car off the road.
Buys you the magazine. He comes into your room. There are pages torn out and posted like posters, but it's just the review section. In the trash can is all the nudie photos.
He's trying the door, and I'm like, don't come in. And he's like trying the door. I'm like, and he's like, he bursts down the door. I'm like, I hold it. You're looking at the reviews again. I told you to look at the women.
You're going to sit there and masturbate and you're going to like it. Oh my God. Playboy.
Yeah.
Ceaseless entertainment.
Oh, seriously.
Ceaseless Discharge was the name of a boss in Dark Souls 1.
Jesus Christ.
Yes. Which is what I had every time I read the Sly Cooper reviews.
God, what a disgusting medical way to describe that.
Doctor?
I have ceaseless discharge.
What are the symptoms? It's just not stopping.
Has it been ceasing?
It is without cease.
Ceaseless, sir.
Cease more, cease less.
Yeah.
Cease less.
I'm also in the reception area doing a checkbox. Cease more, cease less. Cease less.
So I had a similar experience with the game. I was always aware of it. I didn't play it, I think, until actually Sly Cooper 3.
Oh, okay.
Honor Among Thieves. It was Band of Thieves. Honor Among Thieves was weirdly packaged with a 3D glasses at some points, which is interesting. Sly Cooper 2 was the one that I did end up playing. It was a rental for me. I really liked it. And at that point, Sly Cooper 1 had become a greatest hits on PlayStation 2. So I was like, you know what? I'll go back and play that game. I didn't beat a single game in this franchise. There was something about it that I loved I loved the design. I loved the sound design. I loved the looks. I was okay with context-sensitive button presses at the time. It never fully grasped me for some reason.
Okay.
But I was always fascinated by it. I think more than anything, it wasn't that I didn't want to play it. It was that I was limited financially in terms of the number of games that I could get.
You were a child.
I was a child.
Yes.
It was, 1 or 2 games a year or something like that. Maybe 1 or 2 more. But this wasn't the one. It was a tough list to cut, and that 82 didn't cut it for EGM. 85 did, so that's why I got Sly Cooper 2. I think it may have even gotten a 90 from EGM now that I think about it. But that was kind of it. So before we get into playing the game, Andrew, let's give this game our ranking based on what we remember it. So you're going to give it 4 rating out of 4 bits based on your memory of the game, a very subjective ranking back when you played it in 2002 as just a fucking idiot kid.
So stupid.
Just a dumbass kid.
You're so stupid.
And your mom used to always call me crying.
Call you.
Yeah, why didn't I have you as a kid? And I'm like, hey, shut up.
Put out a cigarette on your forearm.
Yes, exactly.
You're such a badass 9-year-old or whatever you would have been at this time. Okay, so here's my review. I'm glad Mikey brought it up. This is incredibly subjective.
Yes.
I was 15 years old. I was the worst age. You're the worst when you're 15.
You are.
And so I was looking at this cartoon game and going like, too cool for this.
Sure.
But I did like it. So it's like this weird thing of like, I wish I'd played it more. I wish I'd have played it to completion. Ceaselessly. But I didn't. And unfortunately, that has to affect a little bit on my review and maybe opens it up to really maybe a nice modern day review. But unfortunately, it's not going to get a very high score. It's going to get a 2.5 because I did like it for the parts I played, but did not really continue on with Sly Cooper in the first game or the sequels from there on out.
That's fair. I'm going to give it a little bit more of a controversial review if you're taking it in the context of what I'm saying. Because I said I've never beaten one unless it's to the reviews in Playboy.
To completion.
To completion. However, I was always fascinated by this game. I loved watching videos of it if I could find them. I loved watching, reading reviews about it. I loved looking at the screenshots. It was gorgeous to me. Again, I loved that cell shaded look. I loved the idea of sneaking. Sneaking was still cool.
Yes.
I loved Splinter Cell. I loved Metal Gear. Give me the chance to do that as a raccoon. I'll fucking do it
All day.
However, I was limited by money, and that is more why I didn't play this game. When I rented it, I loved it. However, not having beaten it means I can't go too high.
Yeah.
But it was good enough for me to go back to a couple times. So I'm going to give it a 3 out of 4.
Okay.
And I feel like people maybe think that that's a little bit too high given the fact that I didn't play through it to completion.
It's your review though, Mikey.
It's my review. I'm
worry
giving it a 3 because it still captured my attention and I was rooting for it even though I didn't have it. So I'm giving it a 3. Yes.
Okay, there you go. So 5.5 out of 8 in our retro scores, gives us a nice window to hopefully love this game as we go about to play it right about now.
Right about now. So if you're going to join us for the gameplay over at the Mushroom Club, patreon.com/Retrograde podcast, please do so. It's $5 a month. We're also putting up some of our gameplay segments over on YouTube a few weeks or to a month after the actual launch. We just want to invite more people to be able to see the gameplay should they be interested in doing so. So join us over there on our YouTube channel as well. If you're going to join us, great. If not, we'll see you on the other side in 2 shakes of a raccoon's tail.
It's got a tail, so it's good. Yeah, there you go.
Just a reminder that you can now find our gameplay segments where we play through a portion of today's game and provide video commentary while doing it over on our Patreon, patreon.com/the Retrograde podcast. Join the Mushroom Club for $5 US per month for access to all the gameplay, plus 2 to 4 bonus episodes per month where we do things like character drafts, top 10 lists, and even take some suggestions from our community. So show some support to the podcast by joining the Mushroom Club at patreon.com/the Retrograde podcast for access to bonus content and all of our gameplay segments. We'll see you guys on the other side.
And welcome back to the Retrograde. Whoa. Oh, what are you doing? Oh my God, you're so sly.
Oh, you can see me right now?
Yeah. But you're not holding a flashlight.
Fuck yeah. I like your cone of vision should be very, very obvious to me. And it's not right now. I need what if we all walked around with that cone of vision? I feel like creeps would be sought out or would be exposed very quickly.
Yeah, because it's very clear what they're looking at.
Yes,
absolutely. Creeps are a huge issue you run into in your life, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, they're creeping about my business.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to follow this lovely woman to make sure nothing poor happens to her.
From a distance.
Maybe offer her a job.
From a distance.
Offer
her a job.
Offer her a job.
Jesus Christ. Because everyone keeps quitting on you.
It's not that they're quitting. Mm-hmm. It's that I'm firing them for not following the dress code.
Yes. What is a spaghetti strap? You're fired. Get out of here. We just played Sly Cooper.
We did play Sly Cooper. That was a very... I always say that like early PlayStation 2, that late PlayStation 1 era gaming especially is like some of the worst games.
Really? Yes.
Early PlayStation 2 has some stinkers as well because they hadn't figured out cameras yet.
Right.
So much so that playing Sly Cooper,
yes,
you cannot change the fact that when you press right on the joystick, the camera goes to the left and vice versa. Wouldn't it be weird if you press right on the joystick, the camera goes right? You press left on the joystick, the camera goes right.
It's a Zoolander thing. We can't.
You press up on the joystick, your character moves forward.
Mm-hmm.
You press down on the joystick, the camera moves up. Figure it out.
Game deletes itself. Damn it! I pressed down.
So this era of games, you very often find yourself in a situation where something's not working properly. It doesn't feel as good.
Right.
It's boring. It maybe has some good design, but it doesn't flow properly.
Right.
This seemed to be striking a pretty good balance of like, oh, I can figure this out. Like, I got this.
Yeah.
The one thing that I liked a lot about this game, and a lot of people who played it will remember from playing it back in the day, is its floatiness and its kind of like looseness. That is still apparent, but I also now kind of found that it's as though they put it in the game to kind of hide some of the imprecise nature of the platforming. So it's like you're sort of floating and you don't quite hit your jump, but it doesn't really matter because it doesn't want to penalize you too much for just missing your jump. But then when you would die as a result of being in the air too long or something like that, I found it a little bit like undeserved. The floatiness kind of impeded my ability to get precise controls. And whereas before I liked that, now it just felt like it was kind of like glossing over some controls that weren't quite perfect.
Sure. Okay, I could see that. Like, there was we did have a trouble with the distance, not the draw distance, but like the target distance.
Yes.
That was
hitboxes, collision, all that stuff.
That was a little bit tough. But you know what I will say? It's like we play a lot of retro games. That's
we do.
The theme of the podcast. This is one of those that just is like, oh, this is a retro game. There's just something innocent and fun about a cartoon raccoon and animal enemies and like over the top kind of style of like the flashlight is looking at you, or the one from like it was like a lighthouse or something like that.
Yeah.
And it it's fun when it's so simple in premise that you're like, oh yeah, you almost it's so funny. Bentley, our little turtle, giving us all the instructions.
Right.
You almost don't need them at all. Like it's such a simple idea.
Because we've gotten so much smarter with games that we don't need those clues. We don't need Bentley, who is basically just doing a Harry Carey impression the whole time.
Yes.
No, it's funny though, because when you call this a retro game, you're like, this is a retro game. It's from 2002, which typically isn't an era that people associate with retro games.
Yes.
But I think what you mean, or what I also 100% agree with,
but yeah.
I'll put whatever the fuck I want in your mouth as long as you work for me.
Christ. You're a terrible boss. Terrible.
Tell that to the board. Money's coming in, baby.
You have a board?
I have a board. It's my vision board.
Your vision board.
And the vision board says
to the board.
Look, there's money bags on there.
Yeah.
There's spaghetti. There's straps.
People crying. You're like, vision board, working out pretty well.
Vision board. They're crying because of how well I'm doing, Andrew.
Yes. I'm so happy for him. It's so amazing.
I'm so happy to have to pick up this pen for him.
Yes.
No, but so this era isn't quite retro, but I agree that the feel of this game is very retro.
Yes.
Not just in the fact that it has those weird in-your-face video game moments of Bentley saying press circle when you get to a ladder, not climb, not press, not jump attack. He says press square near, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it also just has the sensibility, like you mentioned, of a retro game. The fact that it's a little bit cartoony means that it's kind of hearkening to an era that was purposely turning away from these new realistic 3D graphics and saying gaminess and cartooniness is fun. The fact that it's a mascot, the fact that it's a little bit out there. This is kind of that era where games really started to take themselves seriously.
Yes.
So it's nice to have this breath of fresh air that's like, games can also just be fun.
Totally. It's not about the year it came out in. I think like Shredder's Revenge that we did recently.
Right.
That's a retro game. It came out this year. So like...
I think you made a mistake there, actually.
What is that?
Oh, no, big... Okay, so that game came out this year.
Yeah.
Retro means old.
Yeah, no.
So-
But, okay. Sorry. Yes. Sorry, I'll let you finish.
You did that thing with your eyes again?
Did I?
You're doing it right now.
I'm looking at you.
Well, it's the...
This is when Mikey called me condescending from a couple weeks ago.
I've called you that a lot.
Yeah.
But it's like you don't actually want to hear what I have to say. I mean, that's too on the nose. That I know
would
you're
never
putting
do
it
that,
on.
yeah. I'd never do that. I rolled my eyes just in case you were not watching on YouTube.
It's not retro because that game came out this year.
Right, but you understand what I'm saying. There's a sensibility. It's like saying that like Stranger Things is an homage to the 80s, you know what I mean? Even though it came out in 2022. So it's the... Do you understand what I'm saying? You're having trouble here, I think.
No.
It's funny that's not condescending somehow, though.
I'm too busy trying to wrap my head around what you're saying here. Because you're talking about things that... Stranger Things, I've seen Stranger Things.
Right.
They're wearing old clothes.
Right.
They have old haircuts.
Yes.
Demogorgons only really existed in the 80s.
Right. Yeah, they went extinct.
So that is an old show.
No, it's not. It came out this year, though. It's
We're only seeing it this year, but it's like found footage, like Cloverdale. Cloverdale is when that monster went to Riverdale.
Ate up Jughead. They got an eating competition with Jughead. Jughead won.
And by proxy,
Yeah.
so many hamburgers. If you eat Jughead, who ate hamburgers, you are also eating hamburgers.
100%. Yes.
Yeah.
That could only be the way that I know it. But yeah, so like it's a sensibility. It is a genre upon itself almost at this point is retro game. You know what I mean?
And hip upon itself.
Yeah. Hey, that's pretty good. So even coming out in 2002, I think this is like peak retro game in my mind.
Okay, I'll accept what you're saying, even though it's wrong. It has the spirit of a retro game.
I'm the condescending one. I'm the condescending one.
No. I do actually 100% agree. This is the kind of thing, weirdly, that we want to play now because it reminds us of what we felt when we played retro games, just like we were talking about before the gameplay.
That's a good way of putting it.
And this one is now 20 years old. Like we said, 20-year anniversary. The story is enough to get you by. Right? It's a plot of revenge. That's a real shorthand for get your ass in there and kick some ass. I don't need to know too much more about the context of the world that I'm in. What you missed before we started playing, because before we went to the gameplay, I got us through the tutorial section.
Oh, yes.
And when you're going into that area where we were, you see a little cutscene about Raleigh the bullfrog.
Yes.
You see a little bit about how he got to where he was, and then a subtitle for that area, like Terror on the High Seas or something like that.
Spooky.
And that's cool to give a little bit of a B-movie aesthetic to it. This is very B-movie-ish. It's very aware of how silly it is. Like, you're running around in a barrel with a little sneaky thing.
Yep.
The turrets just shoot sleep darts at you. Guys are blowing fire at you. There's a mole in a leather jacket hucking stars at you. Like, what is happening?
I also love the mallet, like wood mallet.
Yes.
When does that exist in anything except for old timey stuff?
Well, he's getting revenge, Andrew.
Mm-hmm. I mean, continue on.
His whole life he's been whacked, and now he's doing the whacking.
Whack-a-mole. I didn't even think about that.
I just thought of it right now.
That's really good.
Thanks. Well, you made a great joke when we were in the barrel.
Right.
Can we just tell about good jokes we've made in the past?
Okay, cool. I don't even know if this is a joke. I think it's an observation.
Well, I mean, he's not actually a Cooper, though. Because that's Sly Cooper, and he jumped in a barrel, and you're like, now I get why his last name's Cooper.
Yes.
He doesn't work on barrels in this.
We don't know that. We only...
Do you think he brought that barrel from home?
I
Oh my God, what if?
What if?
What if he made the barrel, shipped it to Raleigh,
right,
and said, put this... Oh my God.
Trojan horse thing.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Okay. Follow me with this.
I'm trying.
Sly Cooper.
Yeah.
Is a weapons specialist.
Oh.
He builds the turrets, ships them to Raleigh,
right,
in barrels, knowing that Raleigh's too lazy. Raleigh's a posh little bitch. He's the person from whom Robin Hood steals.
Right.
And he's too lazy to throw that barrel out. He's just going to keep it near the turrets, which means every time there's a turret, Sly's going to have some protection from it.
So if you didn't watch the gameplay, every time that those turrets come out, you have to get into a barrel because that protects you from the arrows.
Yes.
So there you go. I like this idea.
Yeah.
Because he's lazy.
So then would he be Sly Cooper or would he be Sly Weaponsmith?
Right. He's part of the Long Smith
Sucker
lineage.
Punch, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, one bit.
One bit.
It doesn't make any sense.
One bit.
Yeah, no, there's just something very fun about the low stakes consequences. You know, so funny you brought up the revenge thing too.
I did.
I think revenge allows you to have no consequences to your actions because it allows you just to be like malicious and just like I'm going to kill people. That's okay, and you're like I'm okay with that because of a book.
Yes.
So I really like that.
And
part
also
of
he killed your parents. The Fiendish Five killed your parents in this.
Right, but the book's also gone.
Oh right, I forgot about the fucking book.
Right, the book.
Shit.
My parents, their dying breath.
Their dying breath.
Joe Chill murdered them in the... Oh, no, wait. Rally the Bullfrog.
Yes.
Chill them. He goes, what about the book? And I'm like, oh, shit, the book. And I just drop my dead mother. I'm like, book.
And you know what happened to your dead mother?
What's that?
She burst into a pile of coins. There is that cartoony element to it.
There is. Where's all my vases? The vases.
The vases, they're turning into coins now. Yeah. Which is fine. It's gaming. It's
I have no
retro,
problem
right?
with that.
Don't explain that to me. Right?
No.
I guess vases turn into coins now. Like you don't need any of that shit.
Yeah.
This was just fun to be in, and it was sort of an era. What about some negative stuff, Andrew? What did you not like about this game?
We both remarked on the music. The
music
quite
was
a few
not good.
times.
Was not good.
Not great. Very generic and like a very tight cycle. So it's just repeating, feeling like every 5 seconds.
Yeah. What specifically was it about the music that you didn't like? Because I've got some ideas on that.
Well, you know what? So we at the end of the level, there's like a little I think we said sting. That's
Sure.
kind of fun. Of like, but we finished things. That's awesome. But it's the just generic like walking through the like ding 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 ding, and that's it. For
It doesn't fit. It doesn't fit the context of the level.
Oh, that's
it's
interesting.
almost like guitar-y, like rocky.
Yeah.
It felt like this could have been in any other. This could have been more in like a Ratchet and Clank game.
Right.
But this is a stealth game.
Yeah, it should have been like jazz.
Yeah, something like
Ooh, sexy.
Kim Cattrall could have been scatting the whole time.
That is a clip that everyone needs to look up immediately of Kim Cattrall scatting.
Search, what you have to Google is Kim Cattrall scat. No, not that. Kim Cattrall upright bass scat. No, not that. Yes. Kim Cattrall.
Or you might find Kim Cattrall shitting on an upright bass. Yes. So I think, it's so funny because 2002, it's also a time where like things are supposed to be cool.
Yes.
And cool, like edgy.
Yes.
And so this goes very much counter to that counterculture kind of idea to this. But the places where it appears, the music,
sure,
because it's trying to be a rock star, and the voice of Sly Cooper himself does not fit at all. It should be a cartoon voice of a cartoon thief raccoon.
Right.
But it's a guy going like, hey, I'm trying to steal something. Like he's trying to be like the cool guy.
For everything that this game does to be different, the voice acting and the dialogue is very on the nose.
Yes.
And I think this could have done better to find its own identity. Like Oddworld, the game that Sucker Punch looked at and said, we're not quite there yet. Everything they did was different. Every line of dialogue was weird. The things in the warehouse, you'd see signs that are basically like, any muddikins who go into this door will be slaughtered. And that's clearly just to keep you out of this door.
You know what? That's a level of meta that I really like. Yes. Because it's like you're aware that you're playing a game and it's kind of speaking just to you.
Right, exactly.
That's totally fun instead of going like press square to not enter this door.
100%.
100%.
And so there are some missteps there, but overall the game feels very good. And it's a world that I liked spending time in. The graphics were phenomenal. I love that design. It's a smooth running game in spite of some of the floatiness feeling a little bit off at times. I also like how each level breaks out into these little overworlds, where you find yourself in this area where there are 5 or 6, think Mario's paintings from Mario 64, that you go in to have these little mini levels.
Yep.
And the lives running out was a little bit less punishing than I remembered.
Yeah.
You just start at the beginning of the sub level. You don't have to like start at the very beginning of the entire overworld.
And I felt like we saw those little raccoon hologram checkpoints a lot.
Yes.
Like actually it was like every once in a while I'm like, oh, another one. Okay.
Yes.
You know, so I will also say that like when I died, there's a few of them that you're like, oh, okay. Well, I guess he could have gotten me.
Sure.
I'm dead. I'm in little ashes because a mole blew fire on me.
Well, that's what's going to happen when moles blow fire on you.
Hey, we've all had moles blow fire on us. I know. It's a tale as old as time.
I was late to this recording because I woke up and all of a sudden right next to me, there was a mole.
Really?
And you'll never believe what it did.
You got a mole problem, eh?
I got a mole problem.
Okay.
And guess what it did?
Said hello. Said good morning. Gave you coffee.
I feel like we were talking about something different there.
Smashed you with a mallet?
It tried. But when I escaped,
blew fire on you.
It blew fire on me,
Oh,
Andrew.
man.
That's what I was trying to get at.
Terrible.
It was awful.
Famous fire blowers, moles.
You know what it's better than, though? Hucking stars at you like boomerangs, because moles also did that in this game.
Yeah, they're very...
Who's supplying these stars?
I really, by the way, that's a good question. We should get to the bottom of this. Rally the bullfrog, probably.
Yeah, I think so.
Is that I like the little arc that they take. You know what I mean? Like
unpredictable.
Yeah.
That's why I thought they were these moles in leather jackets, a la Fonzie, huck stars at you, and I thought they were boomerangs that were going to come around because they had that little arc to it.
Yeah, they did. I thought that was really cool.
But that also speaks to like enemy patterns and learning them. But ultimately, the issue I think with that collision detection is it's kind of hard to tell when you're close enough to receive damage or not, and because of the unforgiving nature of one-hit kills in this game, which we both determined we kind of liked.
We kind of like,
one-hit kills for the enemy. for the most part, and one hit kills on you unless you have a horseshoe. Any little mistake with collision detection, you can't just be like, oh, well, that was dumb. It's you lose a life, you start that checkpoint.
Yeah, it's black and white. Like it's, like it's cut and dry. So I do appreciate that part. You just have to play a little bit more conservatively like that. I think the only times that we really ever died is because we're playing too aggressive.
Right.
So I thought that was pretty cool. Actually, to be honest, it was overall like kind of a very fun experience because you are dropped into a world and it does feel like you're like, oh, I'm in a very different thing right now. Whereas sometimes we play games and you can see so much of an homage that it feels repetitive slightly. You're like, oh yeah, we did something like this recently. This felt completely different.
Yeah, and I was kind of expecting more of like a traditional stealth game, but it wasn't. No. It was a platformer where the goal wasn't necessarily to be unheard. It was to be unseen. And that's a different distinction because if it's unheard, like there was one moment where we thought we had to sneak up on someone. So you get into the sneaking animation, which is just holding the joystick very lightly, and you walk so slow that we're like, slowly. If this is what the game is expecting us, no bueno. And then we realized that it's like the guy's going to see you no matter what, even if you're sneaking. And then it's about getting around him. It's like getting close enough, quick enough, so that you don't you mitigate the risk in that enemy's attack and you attack him first. That's kind of it. And that's kind of cool. It's a different take on stealth compared to even at the time Splinter Cell and Metal Gear.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Pacing up a little bit.
Oh, for sure. No, I'm totally with you on that. I don't know. It was a lot of fun. Do you want to get to our
I think
ratings?
Let's get to our reviews. So, Andrew, you had given this in your retro score a 2.5. You know, it meant something to you, but not a ton out of 4, and I gave it a 3 out of 4. Why don't you start off? How does this game for you hold up in the modern day against like some modern games like The Last of Us?
Oh, God. You know, well, it's gonna be tough, Mikey.
Patented.
I said it. Everyone, all the
hey,
tough heads.
Shut up out there.
No,
we can hear
that's
you.
good.
Do they? I don't think they realize we can hear them.
Yeah, no, we can.
It's really distracting.
And like when this episode ends, shut up, guys. I don't want to keep hearing
talking.
you.
We have to hear everything that all of you say. If you've listened to this podcast for the rest of the week, we hear what you're saying.
I know. And we don't want to.
We don't want to.
Please stop it. Please be silent outside of actually during the episode too.
Yeah.
Okay, it's tough because this is a unique, fun game in which they don't really fully make anymore. There is something very special about this kind of genre, like we're talking about, of a retro style, and I don't know. I really enjoyed going back to it. Yes, there's imperfections. The camera's not great. The music's whatever. The controls, they could be a little bit better. Sure. There's a slight amount of floatiness that feels inconsistent in some way.
Yep.
But that being said, it was in a really nice package and something that you don't often get to do. I totally go back and play Sly Cooper again. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 4.
3 out of 4.
Yeah.
I like that. And I like what you're talking about. You know, a lot of the times when we recontextualize retro games, it's how can you play a better version of this game now?
Right.
And you're right. I can't off the top of my head think of another game like Sly Cooper that's out there right now.
Yeah, right.
You know, I'm sure in terms of controls and mechanics they exist, but this look and feel and the weirdness of it is very of an era, and I don't think it's been done since. Sucker Punch is great at making games, so it would be tough to mimic what they do. In fact, we had someone try in Thieves in Time, I think it was, and it didn't quite work out in 2013. So I'm going to say that if you want this experience, you have to play Sly Cooper. Now, I need to leave some space for a higher score because Sly Cooper 2 is out, and that's widely received as a better game. So if you're going to play Sly Cooper, maybe play the more refined version of it. But this, as it is still a ton of fun. You know, I felt challenged. There were moments when I died when I'm like, well, that was kind of stupid. But because it's not overly punishing, I never felt too frustrated to go back to the, 3 minutes that it takes to get back to where you were when you died. The checkpoint system is very interesting in this because what takes long is figuring out how to get past something.
Okay.
Getting past it once you figured it out is relatively quick and easy.
Right.
So it's not like if it takes you 10 minutes to figure out one puzzle, it's going to take you 10 minutes every time. The first time it'll take 10 minutes. Then every subsequent time it'll take 1 minute. So the flow is really good. The level of punishment's very good, especially for a retro game that could have been a lot more punishing as they traditionally are. I had fun with it. I could definitely see myself going back to playing it. The one knock would be the music. I'm going to give this one, to leave space for a potentially higher score on one of its sequels, a 3 out of 4 as well.
You're going to give it 3 out of 4 as well. 3 out of 4. That gets us to an 11.5 out of 16. Pretty good score for Sly Cooper.
Honestly, I agree. I think that is a good score. And I think, interestingly, an award that you don't like as much, but we won't know until we actually go to the award ceremony.
Well, don't leave me waiting here. Come on, let's get to the award ceremony.
Let's go to the award ceremony, but you see all those spotlights.
Oh, no.
We got to sneak our way over there.
We got to sneak. We got to be very sly.
Let's go sneak. We'll be quiet.
Okay.
And then I'll meet you over there.
Okay.
And then we'll bash the photographer in the fucking face with our sight.
Exactly.
Todd Snap isn't going to know what hit him.
No, exactly. Because there's a flash on there, and that's really seen. So we gotta
shit.
go. Okay, let's go.
You've been waiting for it all year. The most glamorous award ceremony of the week. Ladies and gentlemen, the Grady's.
Oh, here we are.
Wow, we're here.
Here we are.
Shh, everybody.
Andrew's over there.
Oh, for fuck's sake, you absolute snake. Yeah. Voguing.
I'm not a snake. I'm a raccoon.
Ah, very good.
Bitch.
Elliot.
Here we are at the award ceremony. Todd Snap's taking our photos. Producer Elliot is on stage, dressed as you normally are, but you have a scythe and a mask on. That's cool.
I see the mask. That's cool. I
That's
thought
really neat.
that was coming.
Those masks they're pretty sexy.
Yeah, they are pretty sexy.
They're pretty sexy
like
masks.
Lone Ranger style.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
I like those.
Oh,
I like
very
those.
good.
So why don't you reach into my pocket? You're stealing the envelope from me. Open up that envelope, Elliot, and let us know the award this game won.
Like a magician.
The wine cellar.
Oh, God. Damn it.
Indubitably.
God damn it. How many weeks in a row is this fucking award going to come up?
3.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, Andrew, if you wouldn't mind keeping it down, my dear. I'm trying to enjoy my brand new glass of 60-year-old wine. This one is a...
What is this? Get it. What is that accent? Where's that from?
Oh, it's from the land of the wealthy, Andrew. We can change it at will.
It is an accent of wealth.
I found it in the jungle when I was subjugating Tarzan. This is every villain in the jungle.
Come here, monkey boy. I'm going to make lots of money off of you.
Ask yourself this, the listener. What hat am I wearing?
Yeah, you know what hat he's wearing.
No, not that hat. Not a hood. What hat am I wearing?
You're wearing kind of like a top hat.
No, I'm in the jungle, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, it's like a safari hat.
100%.
Yeah,
What glasses am I wearing?
You're wearing a monocle.
You are once again correct.
Yeah,
I say as I
doth my monocle to you.
no, that is me
Oh, you're
twirling my
twirling your
big white mustache.
White?
Of course.
Oh.
I think in fact, I'm
You're very
picturing
old in this.
Exactly Jane's dad from Tarzan the cartoon.
Wait a second. Are you Jane's dad from Tarzan? What do you feel about Tarzan?
Oh, that heathen?
Yeah, as a menace to society, right?
I think he's a heathen because he's culturally appropriating the apes.
Oh, wow. Okay, great.
Yes.
Wow, you got a lot of opinions I disagree with. Okay.
He's a savage.
Okay, so that's somehow this is the
I haven't told you about the wine I'm drinking,
I don't
Andrew.
care. It's
a gamay.
Oh, great. That's fantastic. Good for you. This is Mikey's impression of the Wine Cellar Award, which is, of course, a score that is better in the modern score than the retro score.
That's absolutely correct.
Oh, is this going to be all episode?
No.
Who's more disappointed by that?
As soon as I put the wine down, the accent goes away.
All right, and he's putting it down.
I'll throw it over to you.
Oh,
Whoop, here you go.
No, I don't like this. Okay, here, take it back.
Oh, thank you very much.
Okay.
Elliot, over to you.
Perfect.
You don't speak.
No, he doesn't speak. Perfect.
Okay.
And he never will. Okay, so the Wine Cellar Award, that's pretty good.
It's one of my favorite awards. I say it every time.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Because I get to act like a real cool rich person.
Three episodes in a row.
3 in a row. We had
Wow.
Joust, Oddworld Abe's Odyssey, and Sly Cooper. A string of some solid games. 11,
Seriously?
11 and a half, and 11 and a half.
Wow.
Nothing quite reaching the Mario Kart 64 15 rating.
God, I'd say so.
Which was a very good one. But hey, also, I want to say thanks to everybody. We've had an uptick in listeners, a lot of support on social media, not only in the Philippines anymore. We're growing worldwide.
Hey, don't worry, Philippines. We still love you.
You're still our favorite.
You're still our favorite.
You're still our favorite, but we can't say goodbye just yet, Andrew, because we have another segment. Now, usually what we do at this point in the episode is we play a little game I like to call 3 Sentences to You Might Guess the Game, where our listeners submit 3 sentences to describe the plot of a game, and we see if we can get it in those generic clues. We do have some of those that we're still working through, but we also promised that we would get to some of the listener questions that we've had over the last month or so. Since we started talking about it on the podcast, more people have been submitting. We have one that's kind of life advice.
Right.
For the gamer in all of us. This one comes through from Derek. I won't say the last name.
No, don't say the last name.
We'll say Derek M.
Derek M. There
If you
go.
want us to say your last name, let us know.
Yeah,
but we
you want
typically
a
won't.
shout out or something? I don't know. Also, I would say, does he say where it's from?
No, not
Okay.
doesn't say where they're
Include where you're from, and it could be general. Like it could
that's
be
cool.
a country or whatever, a big city or something like that. Because
from.
I think
a lot of
it'll.
submissions from the Philippines.
Oh yeah, great. Why are you guys so cool? Okay, great question.
Who's cooler, the Retrograde or Manny Pacquiao? Answer: the Retrograde.
I don't know who would win in a fight. 2 Retrogrades or 1 Manny Pacquiao, and you're like,
It depends. Is Manny Pacquiao 11 years old?
how many 11-year-old Manny Pacquiaos are there?
Honestly, he may be an 11-year-old. it doesn't look like he's grown much since 11.
No, I don't think he would still
annihilate me.
dominate us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so here's the question.
Okay.
It's a little bit of a long one, so bear with me.
Okay.
Or raccoon with me
Hey.
to keep on theme. When my wife, then girlfriend, and I met, she knew I had a gaming habit and would even play with me at times.
Okay.
Now that we're a bit older, she started to question my gaming habits, claiming I play too much. As far as I know, I haven't changed. But does that mean she thinks gaming is immature, so as I age, I need to play less?
Okay.
Two-part question.
Okay.
How do I know if I'm playing too many games?
Right.
And how can I prevent my wife from getting half my games in the divorce?
This is a good question. Tales all the time.
Here's to set us off, Andrew. Do you feel as you get older a shame with playing video games?
Yes. Yeah, I'd say yes. I think that's a good way of putting it, framing it. Because yes, but I think, and I don't think this is video game specific. I think it's a lot of luxury or self, time spent on yourself, whatever those things that you have hobbies for, like
self-care, self-love.
100%. You go golfing, maybe you golf too much. Maybe you know what I mean. I think that's
things.
real.
I think what you're hinting at is things that aren't work.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
a question, Derek, would be if you're working,
right,
and you're, pulling your end of the equation in this marriage, regardless of what it is, and you have time to game,
right.
As long as you're still putting in time with your wife,
right,
that should be fine. If both of you have the same amount of time spent with one another, which is a given, and free time, and she chooses to do one thing with hers and you choose to do one thing with yours, I think that's fair.
I do too. But the problem is I often find that sometimes when there's an issue with partners, like you're doing too much of that one thing,
right?
It means that the counterbalance is also off, that you got to make sure that your wife also has time to have things for her own.
That's true.
Sometimes it's that they don't have a thing, like they don't have a passion that like they get to kick their feet up and do.
Sure.
Or it's something they really enjoy. And I think it would be just as much fun to help her find something that she really enjoys as well. And so that there is like a counterbalance.
You know what? You mentioned that she used to play games with you when you were when you guys first met.
Derek.
How about this? Derek, have you guys tried a game like It Takes Two?
Yes.
A game which is about overcoming the challenges of being in a relationship, some of the obstacles, literal and
you can play the game and elbow her the whole time.
Yes.
Like, huh? Look at that. Like us.
See?
Huh? Also, hurry the fuck up. What's 4 plus 5? You get to 4, I get to 5. There we go.
There are games, if people have fallen out of love of games, there are games to get them into it. And now what you have to be careful of, I think,
that they don't fall in love with bad games.
Bad games, yes, exactly. Like Red Dead Redemption. No, I'm kidding. Is imposing. I'm joking. Is imposing your love onto her. You can't do that, and this goes for any partner.
Do not force love on anybody.
You should love them,
yes,
but don't make them love your habit. And I think that's important.
And also, people make it like a deal breaker. Like you have to love the thing I love.
Right.
Well, no, you don't. You're two different people.
The only time that is true is like I fucking. This is going to sound stupid. I love myself. So if you don't love what I love, get the fuck out of town.
I will also say, Derek, there is one amendment I want to make to that. You don't have to love everything I love, but if she doesn't love the Retrograde, she's no good. Get her out of there.
Get her the fuck out of here.
Is it your like Sunday morning tradition where we listen to the Retrograde together? She better not look at her phone once.
Also, make it your Tuesday morning tradition because that's when we release.
Yeah,
we want those numbers up on
those
day
first
one.
Day
those
downloads.
First day downloads, baby. Apart from that, how can you prevent her from getting half the games in your divorce? Don't have a divorce.
Yeah, don't have a divorce.
They're
Did
illegal.
you sign a prenup? You're already out of trouble then. Yep. I'm sorry, Derek, you came in too late.
I will say that I am reading myself into Derek a little bit here.
Oh, sure.
But I have an issue where my partner doesn't have an issue when I play video games.
Oh, good.
But I feel weird playing video games in front of her.
I do too.
And maybe, Derek, you're reading into this a little bit too much.
Right.
Maybe you're the one imposing the don't play video games thing. Is it worth having a conversation? Hey, look, open communication is always key.
Key to
Just
a good
ask
relationship.
her, is it bad that I'm playing more games? If you already know that.
Yeah, wait a second. In the question, does he say that like she has actually brought this up to him, saying you play too many video games?
She started to question my gaming habits, claiming I play too much.
Okay, well then.
So if that's the case, you know what? Let's make this combative.
Okay.
Ask her why she watches so much of her favorite show or movie or reads too much.
Yeah. Why is her sister such an idiot or
Why
something
is
like
your-
that?
Yeah,
Really go at her personally. Attack her.
No. How about this? Why can't you be more like your sister?
Oh, absolutely.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That goes well.
Yeah, it's something really wildly personal and vindictive.
Exactly.
Yeah, she goes to the gym a lot. Like, what the hell are you saying? No. I think, obviously, it's obviously a communication thing. part of that might be born out of self-consciousness. And then part of it is that, we need to find interests that are good for both people.
Absolutely.
As long as you're not playing 8 hours a day or whatever like that. I'm sure there is a level that's unhealthy no matter what. You got to make sure that you can look after everyone, but and still have some time for yourself. That's not the worst thing in the world.
Yes. Look at yourself, ask yourself, am I playing too much? Do I have other responsibilities I'm not getting to? If that's the case, curb it a bit, maybe meet her halfway. But don't stop playing games and don't be embarrassed to play games.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I'm right there with you.
So look, if you have any questions of your own similar to that, it's gaming. We're a retro gaming podcast.
Yes, we are.
We're all of a certain age at this point. And gaming means a different thing when you pass a certain age and other responsibilities enter in the mix. If you have any questions that would follow that kind of line of thinking,
right,
you can email us, theretrogradepodcast@gmail.com. Don't be offended if we don't get to it right away, because we have a few that we're working towards, working through. Got a bit of a stockpile, but if you have more than one, send more than one. We will try to get to all of them eventually, and maybe if we get too many and we can't get through them all in the regular feed, we'll do a full bonus episode on questions.
I think it's a great idea. A mailbag episode.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I think that's a lot of fun. But this was a lot of fun. Sly Cooper was a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for listening. We love every single one of you, and we can't wait to talk to you soon. My name's Andrew Bascom, and with me as always is the bad boy of podcasting, Mr. Bebop himself,
Mikey Aaronworth.
This is the Retrograde Podcast.
Game over.
I wanted to say I love you, Philippines, and I couldn't figure out where to put it.
You should get a receptionist.
I really should. That was an honest answer.
Want more Retrograde in your life? You can visit our website for show notes at theretrogradepod.com. Follow us on Twitter @RetrogradeMikey, @RetrogradeAndy, and the podcast @RetrogradePod.
Or Instagram @TheRetrograde_Podcast.
For bonus episodes, check us out at patreon.com/TheRetrogradePodcast.
Send your questions and business inquiries to theretrogradepodcast@gmail.com.
See you next week, D-pads.
Furnished by Sad Styles Productions.
Whoa.
Wait.
What are you doing?
No, wait, I
know. You did both.
I fucked up.
This is not your dream where you get to do both parts.